Yep.
From their progression over the fall.
A lot of competition in that room, and as a collective group, just hardworking guys, and a lot of them are making a lot of good plays and doing a lot of good things. And so, really, what sticks out is the competitive nature of that group. We have a lot more people that are rotating in. I feel better about a lot of those guys. So, what I think you can look forward to is a lot more people playing in games. We're deeper there than we've been, deep in a way where, I feel very comfortable with looking out there and seeing a whole lot of different people out there. And so I'm excited about that.
And speaking of, just two of the guys that stood out, at least to me in camp, have been the freshmen of Malachi Tony and Josh Moore. How have you seen them grow, and where do you think they stand kind of, a couple before the season starts?
I think they're doing a great job. I'm not going to sit here and talk about where people stand, but I've been impressed with those guys. As much impressed with their mentality as anything. It's a very low drama group that supports each other, and they work hard. And the one thing that I like to see is they're more excited when somebody else makes a play. So if we can keep that theme going, I think you'll see a lot of guys rotate in there, and when it's their opportunity, they'll make the play. And having competition and having a lot of guys take reps with the first couple groups creates an atmosphere where, hey, when it's my time, I better take advantage of it. And it really has been that way. So I'm excited about that group.
Shannon, when you're talking about what you're talking about is, rotate guys in and things like that, maybe different than a year ago. Is that how you envision the season kind of going?
I do.
Or would you, as opposed to maybe narrowing it down at some point?
No, I do. I think the season's going to go. Now, I'm not Nostradamus. I can't tell you exactly how it's going to go. But if I had to guess right now, I would tell you that we're going, my whole purpose right now is to get that group to where at the end of games, middle of the season, and end of the season, we're healthy and we're hitting on all cylinders. And so to do that, I think, splitting time with guys and rolling people where we're fresh the whole game. We always have fresh legs out there. It's key. It's vital. Now the big part of that is I got to trust the people that go on the field, and that's their part too. They have to take ownership of the fact that, if there isn't a level of trust there, then I won't get my opportunity. But I will say right now there is a level of trust with a lot of guys. And so we have a lot of camp left, and so we'll see how it goes leading up to the first game. But as the season goes, I would think you would be excited to see how guys are going to rotate in and get opportunities at that position.
How was Carson look now you're 3 weeks into him being able to be in practice, throw and whatnot? How have you seen him, his command of the offense, his command of the huddle? What have you seen from him over?
It shows that he's played a lot of football. I don't know exactly how many games he's played in, but he's played in a ton. Not going through spring, you kind of, you're waiting to see when camp starts, because you go through an injury and you come back, you don't go through spring. So when you get out there, when it's truly 11 on 11, not the player-led stuff that we do in the summer, you're very curious in how that's going to go, right? The rapport of him with the receivers. And it really didn't miss a beat. Like his arms, look, he can throw the football at an elite level. His mentality of the game is different because of how much he's played and how much he's been around the game and how much he's seen. The way he goes about things is very professional, and he really takes ownership of the details of playing quarterback in the sense of like protections and points, mic points, and changing stuff. So it's been good to have him, and really as this camp went, it's really growing together, to be honest with you, and seeing exactly what he likes to do and how his brain works, because that's the biggest part of it. When you get guys like that, you're trying to figure out, okay, what do they love to do, and what's the atmosphere they love to play in, and let's try to mold everything around it so we can create an offense that fits his skill set.
Along those lines, every year I know you evolve and do sort of things to fit your personnel. Would you say maybe compared to last year with this year you've done more so in terms of this is what it's going to look like than normal?
I thought we did a bit of that last year. When we took Cam last year, sitting down and trying to figure out like exactly how his mind works for the game, what he likes to do. Our offense obviously looked different. There were some things we did that we didn't do the year before. I don't know what percent I would put on that, but there was a fair amount of stuff that we didn't do that we did because of his comfort level. I would say with Carson, it's probably about the same percentage. Like there was things that he felt really comfortable with, and we didn't necessarily have exactly that, or didn't have it organized exactly the same way is the right way to put it. And so there are definitely things that we're doing now that we didn't do before. But I don't know if that's any different year to year, to be really honest with you. I think you spend a lot of time in the off season figuring out what you do well, but also studying a lot of teams out there from the NFL and college that like do some things that might fit into ours. Now, a lot of the stuff you watch, you don't incorporate because there is a tipping point of just too much stuff, right? But then there's like these handful of things that you say, man, that really does fit what we do in our personnel. If we can make it make sense to our guys and understand the process. And there has been a handful of that stuff that I'm excited to see, to be honest with you.
Every player's going to make mistakes in practice. What's Carson's response like when he does make mistakes, whether it's in practice or after practice when you're going over things?
He's hard on himself. You know, he really is. I mean, he's a perfectionist in a way where, like, when he does something that's, you know, that he knows he could do better, I mean, I don't really have to say anything to him. He's probably harder on himself than anything because he'll beat himself up over a throw he missed or whatever. But that's his way. You know, the more I get to know him, and that's just his way of motivating himself and his way of, like, auto-correcting himself. And everybody's got a different process, you know. And so, but he is a perfectionist, and whenever he doesn't like execute the way he thinks he can execute, he will be hard on himself, but he snaps out of it pretty quick. That's a very quick, like, you know, conversation he has with himself, and he gets over it and he plays the next play. So
How do you feel like the explosive element has been with the offense in general during camp?
I think it's good. I mean, I think we have a lot of guys that can stretch the field. And I do feel good about our ability to attack down the field. You know, our defense doesn't necessarily, you know, they do a good job of minimizing explosive plays, I will say that. And so a lot of our explosive plays are stuff that gets caught underneath and guys make plays, you know. But we do have, and like he was asking, I mean, I do think we have a receiver room full of guys that you get them the ball in space and they can make a guy miss, you know. And so that's exciting to see.
Looking at the tight ends, it seems like there's a group of guys that have a few different skill sets.
Yeah.
I guess. How do you anticipate being able to utilize, I guess, either multiple tight end sets or kind of mixing and matching, where you want to line people up? I mean, obviously you don't have to go into exact strategy for the game, but how do you anticipate using all of them?
Well, I mean, look, all those guys can do what we ask them to do. And so it's not really as much of, hey, like I got to figure out these few sets of plays that you're good at. Those guys are good at executing the blocking schemes that we ask them to execute, and more importantly, they're good in space. You know, I think that's the issues you have with tight end when it's kind of the opposite, where they're really good at blocking, but they're not really good in space. And so then you got to really think about what you do with them. With these guys, you know, they're really good in space and they can execute the blocking stuff. So I really don't even think about the play I'm calling with them out there. You know, they can execute it, and they're good route runners. So I line those guys up. I mean, much like we did last year, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff as far as where they line up. They can line up anywhere. They can line up, you know, obviously in alignment with the tackle. They can line up at receiver at multiple positions. So feel comfortable with those guys.
With Marty Brown, now you've seen him for about 3 weeks in person. Just what stands out of him? What do you think he can add to that running back room? And the fact that he has championship experience from last year, how much do you think that can help you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the selling point with him. Really, is, you know, his mentality and bringing that physical nature to the group. I mean, he's used to playing in a place that has a championship culture, that do things a certain way, and that's exactly what culture we have. So it wasn't a big stretch for him to come in here and abide by the culture that's been set by Coach Cristobal. So he's a very steady guy. He is very steady with everything he does. He doesn't talk a lot, but he's very coachable, and he's built in a way that is very hard to tackle, which is good. I don't know if you've been around him, but he's built in a way where you better get your pads low because he's hard to bring down.
What have you seen from Lyle during camp, Jordan Lyle?
The same thing I've been seeing with him all along. He's a really talented dude that's going to have a great career here, and he's going to play a lot of football, and he does. He's got a good grasp of the offense. The thing about running backs and incorporating them into offenses is more so with protections, and he has a really strong grasp of that, and his instincts and ability with the ball in his hand are what they are. He has a high ability to make people miss when they flash in front of him. Maybe somebody comes free. He can make something out of nothing.
Part of the rotation at receiver
Yep.
that you're talking about, how much of that, obviously you have guys that you're comfortable with playing, but also how much of that is they each have different strengths and they can bring something different to what you want to do?
Well, right now I really don't think about that as much as I would whenever we start preparing for games. Because when we start preparing for games, there will be a handful of stuff that we do in a game that hey, this kid's really good at this, so let's make sure that he's in those positions to get those plays. Now, how many of that will be in a game plan? Probably a handful, 5, 6, 7, 8 plays where you start them and be like, look, man, that dude right there needs to be in the game for that play, But right now in camp, I really don't think about it. I will be lying to you if there wasn't times at practice where I throw a kid in there at Z because I know the play that I'm about to call. So it happens organically sometimes at practice. It'll happen more when you prepare for games.
With Malachi Tomey, assume you told me, but it seems like slot, you got to be able to read coverages on
Yeah.
your offense. His ability has he shown an advanced ability to do that as a young freshman?
I would say he has an advanced ability to do that.
Is that rare? Is it rare that?
It's pretty rare. He understands football, understands spacing. He's very calm, and he has a skill set that fits that position because, like you said, that position has a lot to do with, especially if it's zone coverage, you got to really feel space and feel who's guarding you. In man coverage, it's all about the leverage of man and versus the route you're running. But I will say, I know everybody talks about Mally a lot. Those other two guys are making a lot of plays there too. Ray Ray's really playing well. Tony's really playing well too. And so, competition is key. And I think that's part of the reason why people are elevating their game is because at this situation in time here, we have guys behind them that if you have a bad day, then, you might not be going out there as much with that first group as you've been going out there, So that's the biggest motivating factor in our job. I can't motivate somebody more than a guy behind them with equal talent can motivate them. And that's just been the way for 100 years.
This might be hard to answer.
Do 3 more questions.
This will be a 3-part question now.
Okay.
This might be hard to answer, but
I don't know if everybody got that.
are there maybe 2 or 3 guys that jumped up most, quote unquote, surprised you the most from spring to fall with their development and what they're showing they can help the offense do this year?
I'm sure there is. Now, am I going to tell you those 3 guys? No. But look, I'm very, we could sit here and we talk about receivers, this and that. The core of our offense is the 5 guys up front. That's what makes everything go. If you can't protect like we can protect, and that was one of the things Carson said early in camp. He's like, man, I got to get used to all this time, And so, but those guys do a really good job, which makes offensive football, it makes your ability to execute higher. And so everything builds around them out. Now, I mean, they would be the first to tell you that they're tired of people talking about them. They're ready to play ball. But I can't sit here and have a press conference without saying that, look, man, those 5 guys are they've played a lot of football. And it's not just 5 guys. It's like 8, right, or more. I mean, and so, everything they do is the heartbeat of what we do. And so everybody around them kind of morphs into their personality, toughness, physicality, and all the rest. And so I'm excited about that group, and I'm excited about the people around them that everybody's talking about. But I can't sit up here for 10 minutes and not throw the big boys a bone, because I love those guys.
Well, with one of those guys, Ines Cooper.
Yeah.
Going to his 3rd year to start, just from when you first got here to where you are, where he is now, just what's been the biggest growth? What's been the biggest area of development you've seen in Ines Cooper?
Probably just leadership. He's always been a really good player, physical player. He's really an outspoken guy in our room, and I appreciate the leadership position that he has niched out for himself, and I do think that he's going to have that for a long time. But he is the guy that when he talks, everybody listens, and he's earned that role because of the way he's played the game, as long as he's played the game. And so, I appreciate his voice at times.
Your backup quarterbacks, how are they coming along?
They're coming along good. I mean, I think that, I think I got the best quarterback room in the nation, and I might be a little crazy. I mean, obviously I'm biased a little bit, but Emory's playing really, really well, and he's taking a lot of snaps, and the young guys are really, doing really good things too. Now, will they make a bonehead deal every now and again? Yeah, they will, and that's my job to kind of level that out a little bit. But they show spurts of like doing some really, really good things, really talented guys. And so, and that room is the same that we talk about the receiver room. I mean, that room elevates itself a lot of times by the way other people play.
Just to follow up on that, I think Lucas, but Judd, it seems like he's grown a lot over the last.
He really has. He really has. I think that, from spring till now, the summer has helped him a whole lot, and I think he's shown probably as much growth as anybody through that course of time, And so he just needs to, especially with young quarterbacks. I mean, it's just reps are so precious, They really are. I mean, you see guys like Carson and Emory have both taken a lot of reps, and you can tell. Carson's played in a lot of games, and Emory's played in some, not as much, but you can tell just the level of experience with just practice reps and games. All that stuff matter, and so quarterbacks grow all at a different speed, to be honest with you. Some of them come in a little bit more accelerated, but reps and experience are crucial to those guys.
Coming out of the first scrimmage, what were your main takeaways from the performance?
I think we're playing faster. I think we're communicating better. I think the details in like our technique and our fundamentals, we're constantly seeing improvement, and those are the biggest things we're looking for right now. We've taken a step up. Now I think we just need to continue to build on that this week. And that's been the number one objective, just faster to the football, better communication every play, and then, just fine-tuning all the different techniques and the fundamentals for every position, every level group. And just constantly finding, competition with the guys, putting them in different spots, putting them in different roles, to make sure, we're finding the best guys in the best positions for this fall.
Who would you say are the best communicators right now?
I think we have a lot of guys that communicate really well. I think our safeties right now are talking really well, communicating. The linebackers is a group of guys that have a really good understanding right now of the concepts and what we're trying to do, and being able to communicate from the front to the back end and get everyone in the same call, same check. And I'm really excited about the way that it's progressed from spring football to now early in fall camp. And those are the biggest things that we're still just working on communicating every single day. Just making sure everyone on the defense is, dialed in with the same call, same job, every single rep.
With the linebackers specifically, with Mo and Kamal, since they came in, just what stood out about them the first couple weeks since since they started with you guys this fall?
I think both guys compete, and that's the biggest thing. Guys that come in right away just looking for an opportunity, get on whatever package it is, wherever it is in the defense, and then they compete. And then the thing that I think is awesome is our guys in the room brought them in right away. Part of the family from day one, right away, adding depth to the room, bring different intangibles, the way that the speed, the way that they run to the football, how they close on the ball in different areas like that. And then, I think both in the box and out of the box, there are guys that help us first, second, and third down with some different things they do.
How are you guys performing with generating takeaways during camp, and is there anyone in particular standing out?
Yeah, it's like Dylan Day is wherever he is, be careful. I mean, he's going to get the ball out right now, and there's a group of guys that every day they're obsessed with the ball, and it's that's the number one thing in practice. How many strip attempts are we getting? How many times does the ball touch the ground? If the ball is down, we're knuckles, we're scooping and scoring, and then if the ball's in the air, we have to have it. It has been the number one message, and we start every single unit meeting with a ball tape. How many times did we affect the ball in practice today? There's been days where it's been good, and there's other days where the offense has done a really good job protecting the football. So we have to make sure, in camp it's like weird. We want to get as many as we can, but on offense they don't want to give it to us at all. But we do as many drills as we can, trying to affect throwing lanes from the quarterback, and strip attempt drills or different ways to get the football out in our indie periods and in our defensive periods. But that's been the number one message is we have to be obsessed with the football and defense.
Mariah said that Ruben, obviously a lot expected from him, but he's having a great camp. Just what stood out the most about him through the last 13 practices?
I think it's the way he goes about the process. He's a guy, when he gets the meetings, he already knows the install. He knows exactly what to do. If he doesn't, he has good questions. He's locked in unit meetings, locked in position meetings. And then the way he goes through his indie, the way he goes through group, the way that he goes through the team periods, he does it like a true professional. It is, technique, alignment, does his job every single play, and then swarms to the football. Whether it's a 30-yard pass down the field or it's a TFL in the backfield. And and he's a great guy for, I think, the younger guys to watch. The way that he comes out, he's detailed, he hits his target, he's got great get off, he's got great pad level, he swarms to the football, he's detailed in how he finishes every single rep. And then after practice, he's one of the guys, when you walk back up in the office, he's down working on whatever it was that day in practice that he needs to clean up. Whether it was something in the pass rush, it was a finish, it was something on a movement up front, or an angle he was working on, block destruction. He's always working at his craft to continue to get better at what he does. And that's why I think it's awesome for the younger guys. This is a guy that has done a lot, so far in college football. He's constantly trying to get better. He's constantly trying to improve his game, which is what I love to see.
Hey, Coach, first of all, will you be calling the game from upstairs or on the field?
I'm still kind of going through exactly where I'll be right now.
Okay. What did you do last year?
Last year I was down.
You were down, okay.
Yeah, but we've done it from both. So.
Okay. Can you talk a little about, I know defense is multiple and all that, but do you feel like this group in particular is as good stopping the run? Because we know it's really good stopping the pass, it seems like all the personnel. Do you feel like they're there now in terms of stopping the run also, or is that still sort of a work in progress? I know you can't tackle the ground that much in the fall because you don't have injuries, but do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, I think our guys are continuing to get better at it. And that's one of those things, you go against our offense every day, that's a hard task. And then the second thing is, was it a tackle? Was it not a tackle? Did he break it? And so like a lot of the plays right now in camp, they extend where, it's always hard. It's you're doing a drill where it's like, well, is it going to be 3rd and 1 or is it 3rd and 9 or was that an explosive and now it's a first down? Did he make a wrap and roll or did he not? But I think our guys, their technique, their fundamentals, how square we play the line of scrimmage, how we try to knock the line of scrimmage back. The way that we're finishing on ball carriers right now, at the point of attack at all 3 levels, the way that our guys have been handling like tackling circuit in some of those situations where we're putting them in the situations, and it may not be against one of our backs, it may be against a bag or someone else in that running back position. I think our guys are constantly getting better at those fundamentals and techniques. And tackling right now, we do that every single day. It's part of our what we do in our everyday drills on defense. We have a circuit for it, so we tackle different phases. And then against the offense, that's one of those things where, it's like a heavyweight fight. It's some days they're leaning on us a little bit, and other days we start to feel good about it. But it's an area that we're constantly. It's got to be the number one thing. We have to take the ball away, and then we have to win the line of scrimmage every single day.
What
What's one thing you've learned about Miami football or the city of Miami since arriving here that you didn't expect?
It was a beautiful place. No, Miami's awesome. I mean, there's so many different things to do. There's, the people are very friendly, the cultures, the opportunities. You can be, doing something on the water one minute, you can be somewhere else another minute. There's great professional sports teams, and then the one thing I love right now is people love the U. I mean, everywhere you go, people love the University of Miami. And they love the teams here and they follow them, and that's something that's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Can you talk about the competition at corner, the depth you have? How many guys do you feel like you're going to be comfortable playing in games this year?
Yeah, right now, we're probably around 5 guys, but there's some guys that, are still learning the position a little bit. They've been playing really well. We got a couple of young guys in Jabari and Chris that I think have really taken off and are doing a really good job competing every single day and getting better at their technique, getting better at their fundamentals. They do a really good job competing in practice, especially when they're in situations. On offense, I think we have some really good talent, and it's some of the guys they're playing. They're doing a good job right now, constantly getting better. And then our veteran guys are some of the guys that have played. It's a competition every single day, and it's it could be a rotation, it could be by certain packages or by certain series. But right now, there's a really good group of guys that I feel like that position. As long as we continue to stay healthy and compete, I think we have a good group in that room. And I think Coach is doing a really good job with them, Coach E.
Do you feel like you have guys that can hold their own or execute in man coverage?
Well, that's every day. That's we'll throw different situations out there where we want to, just play man and see how we go. Just play a different zone and see how we hold up. And guys, every single day, whether it's in a one-on-one period or it's a period where we're trying to play maybe a little bit more man coverage, I think our guys are continuing to get better at it. It's hard sometimes. There's no pass rush in a 7-on-7 or a 1-on-1. Other times, maybe the D-line affected it. Maybe it wasn't a win, but our guys are competing in that role, and we'll be very multiple where they'll be in that situation and maybe they won't be in that situation. So, but I think they've accepted the role. They're doing a really good job competing right now, and I do think it's a room where you'll see multiple guys on the field.
Talk to us about Xavier Lucas. What have you seen?
X loves competition. He attacks it every single day. He's constantly improving. He's a bigger guy who uses his size very well. He's a physical player, and he's a guy that constantly is working. He's another guy that anytime you looked out in the indoor, he's down there. He's always in watching film. He's always asking questions. He's always working on his technique, and he's constantly getting better at it. And he's one of those guys, if he lost yesterday on that rep, if he gets the same rep today, I know he's going to win that rep because he's constantly improving, and he's getting more and more detailed in the way he approaches it every day.
Okay, Scott, I think you said at media day, whether he can play more outside or more nickel is kind of like the $1 million question. Just what have you seen from him through first inter practices?
You can tell, the way that he approaches it, and we have a handful of older guys that, have been in camp, but you wouldn't know. Comes in every day. He's one of the first guys in the building, one of the last guys out of the building. He's constantly asking questions, constantly watching film. He's a guy that, he knows multiple positions. He reps at multiple positions. And, he's a guy that, every day is getting better the way he attacks it. And, he's just a true veteran. It's awesome for the younger guys to kind of see it and, different guys in the program, the way that he treats his body, he takes care of it, the way he prepares for practice, the way he's out right away working on different things that might be a little bit different than the way we did it yesterday, or a little bit of a new install, and right away he's in there with on his iPad he's got 3 questions. Hey, what are we doing on this? How are we handling that? But he's very detailed in his approach, and I think that's why he is the player he is, and I think that's why he's going to be very successful in anything he does.
And another guy who kind of intriguing is Bobby Pruitt. Just how does he fit kind of into the linebacker rotation? Seems like in practices he's looked very good in coverage situations. Just how does he fit into that rotation?
Yeah, he's a guy that, from spring football till now, he's one of the guys that has made the most improvement. And he's a very talented, he's a physical football player. He's continuing to get bigger, and he's continuing to play faster. And now he's a guy that, like a lot of the MAs or different things, maybe in the spring that we had to clean up, that's not showing up on film anymore. Now he's smart, he's handling the checks, he's making calls, he's understanding his alignment, he's understanding his job, his eyes are in the right spot, and he's playing really fast right now. And he's a guy that we can use in multiple spots because he can cover, a running back in space or a tight end in space. We can put him out on a wide receiver, where he can also be in the box, as a box linebacker, because now his hands and his, how physical he's playing at the point of attack right now, is constantly improving from what we saw in the spring. And he's a guy we're really excited about this fall.
Corey, what are the key factors you believe a defense needs to have to be successful in the red zone?
Don't let him down there. No, I mean, we talk about, and the other day we had a good situation in practice. We talk about the 4-point play. For us, it's, we got to create a takeaway or we got to force a field goal. Obviously, number one, get the ball back. Be obsessed with the ball, strip attempt, second man strip, ball's in the air, we got to try to take it away. If not, we have to make sure we're holding them to a field goal in that situation. And that's where, quarterback's going to be a runner. They're going to attack different areas where they have, up the field. The field's not as long, so the vertical game's not there as much. And just getting our guys to understand what plays you now see in the red zone, what styles of offense you now see in the red zone, different things we need to do to take away the quarterback run game. And then personnel shifts may be different down there. And, just having our guys understand those situations and what you're going to see in those situations, and then getting our guys to understand, who we need to take away. That's been the biggest thing in camp as we go. And, we had one day we were really good in the red zone. The next day we weren't very good. And that's been an area we're looking to constantly improve, since really last season where we were on defense and all the way through camp right now.
How's the pass rush? Three more questions if you have. The pass rush performed through camp. So
I think we've been happy right now with our guys up front. Really in general, the defensive tackles, the defensive ends, different guys we put in the pass rush game. I think our guys have done a really good job of collapsing the pocket. I think our guys have done a really good job understanding rush lanes, and I think the speed that we play with to get after the quarterback. I think that's something that, as the season keeps going, I think that's going to be a strength for how we play.
You're a new coordinator, or intended new coordinator. Do you sort of like having this as your first game with your new group, or would you rather have like one of these, maybe a quote unquote lesser opponent?
Yeah, I mean, it's every year the first game is always, how did we change? Who are we? What are our strengths this year? What is our defense? What's our identity? What's our mentality? And it's going to be the same thing for them. It's a different quarterback. It's some different guys in different positions. The perimeter is a little bit different for them. The back's back. But, we're going to have to find out, and, you get this entire offseason, you get to go steal things from, other colleges or the NFL or, whoever you're talking to, and you get to find out, what changes they've made and what they're going to carry over. Same thing with us, what changes we've made, what we're going to carry over, how different is each side of the ball going to be. So the first couple of weeks are always, you go in not knowing as much. You got to adapt early in the game. You got to try to figure out what's going to happen, who's healthy, who the playmakers are, who they're trying to rely on. It'll be the same thing for us. We're going to learn a lot in our first game of exactly who we are. It's always interesting in preseason camp where you go from a practice day where there's no bright lights, and then all of a sudden you go to a scrimmage day and, some guys are really detailed and nothing changed, and other guys start to get a little bit more nervous or something sets in. It's just, every day is the same is the way we got to treat it. But you'll find out in the opener, hey, and I think we have a lot of guys that are prepared for it. And I know obviously, they'll have the same thing. They'll have a lot of guys prepared for that situation, and they've been in that situation. But we got to find out exactly who they are and what their identity is early in the game. Where later in the year, you have a little bit better of a feel, and you have 3 or 4 games down to start to know who they are that season. I don't know what the best answer is on that one. So.
Having a chance to coach with the Hall of Famer Jason Taylor, is he constantly in there telling stories about how he set Jim Kelly in the?
He has not told those stories. No, he's awesome. He's a true professional. His detail, the way he attacks it every day. His room is a room that I think is playing really well. And you can tell they're well coached, they're prepared. The way that they attack the field, the way that they come off and try to stop the run, and the same thing, the way that they can transition to the pass game. As it is in the room, I'm sure he's got a ton of million stories and all that. But when we're here, it's one of those things where he's a true professional. He does a really good job of developing our players, and you can see the development in some of the guys now that are going to year 3, and then you can see the younger guys. A guy like Third has constantly gotten better every single day. Scroggins, Hayden Lowe, how much he's improving right now. Mondo, Rondo Blunt. You know, the way that he's taken his game from spring football to now, like that room's constantly getting better every single day. And there's a lot of competition there, and I think that's, you know, attribute to him in the meeting room, in the film room, developing his guys in the off season, and now going through fall camp, continuing to build that room.
How much of a rotation would you ideally like at safety? Seems like you have two older guys that have done it. Who would you say is maybe pushing for DB3?
Yeah, you know, I think there'll definitely be a rotation. You know, I think we've got a lot of different guys that have stepped up, done some different things in situations, whether it's you know, like Dylan Day's been here. You know, Fitz is a guy that constantly makes big plays every single day. You know, he's constantly improving. He's getting better with his technique. He's getting better with his communication. You know, you got Isaiah Taylor is a guy that is always in the right spot, constantly does his job really well, communicates really well. But there's a lot of different guys in that room that you can put in different situations. You know, and then we got a group of older guys that have been here, that have played really good college football, you know, at the highest level. And they're guys that are getting better every single day, understanding the scheme and what we're trying to do, and understanding the situations and putting our guys in the right spots in those situations. But, you know, that's one of those things where it's, what's the situation in the game? You know, how are we playing? You know, and then as the season goes on, you know, there's going to be guys that are going to play in every room, because you never know what's going to happen. You know, with our depth as the season goes on, but we'll play a lot of guys in that spot.